Senators on both sides of the aisle on Thursday expressed outrage with the agency, calling on CIA leadership to repair trust with Congress, including Oregon Democratic Senator Ron Wyden, who demanded an apology from the CIA director himself. And while tensions between the CIA and Congress have been growing for years, the credibility of the agency and Director Brennan himself are clearly at stake. So I want to go to Senator Wyden right now. He's, of course, a member of the Intelligence Committee. And, Senator, point blank, John Brennan, should he have a job at the CIA?
Chuck, right now, the public deserves to know who is responsible for ordering and carrying out this unconstitutional act. And particularly, I want to know whether Director Brennan deliberately lied to the American people. As you know, he told your network and others, oh, the search is the furthest thing from what he would be interested in. And I've long felt that with the intelligence leadership, there is a culture of misinformation. This may be another example.
So you want, obviously, another investigation. Who do you trust to do this investigation internally at the CIA? This is not the easiest agency to investigate.
It may take an independent counsel here, Chuck, and let me tell you what I know at this point. If a 19-year-old hacker had searched Senate files this way, that hacker would be sitting in jail right now. Now, back in January, I asked Director Brennan whether the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act applied to the CIA. That act has criminal penalties, and I think the director owes the American people a public explanation.
So when do you expect to hear that? When do you want to hear that? A written statement? It seemed like a very weak apology, to be honest. We've still not heard from the White House at this point. What do you want to hear from the White House? And when do you want to hear this apology publicly from John Brennan?
I want a public accounting at this point. I want to know who authorized this act. I want to know why they thought it was legal, and I want to know who is going to be legally held responsible. You've got to have the ability on our committee to get straight answers. And again, as you know, I asked Director Clapper at one point whether the government collected any type of information at all on Americans. They said no. We have another example here where Director Brennan's spokesperson said they had a strong interest in looking at these files, and then Director Brennan told your Andrea Mitchell and various other networks they had no interest in it. The facts don't add up, and this is part of the culture of misinformation.
What were they trying to do when they hacked into the computers? Are they afraid of the accountability that you guys were doing your own investigation and their interrogation techniques? Obviously, they were afraid of what was going to be made public. What is it that they were trying to do? Were they trying to subvert the investigation altogether? What's your sense of what they were up to?
Chuck, my sense from the very beginning is the agency wanted to do everything they could to play stall ball here. They don't believe that where the committee, in my view, is going to end up with profoundly shocking and disturbing information that would be made public. They don't want that released. And so again and again, they have thrown up one hurdle after another. And you asked about what's going to happen with Director Brennan. I think he's got some heavy lifting to do in order to establish his credibility again. And as far as I'm concerned, this inquiry is going to have to run right to the top.
Well, when you say right to the top, that's Brennan, or is that the president as well? Director
Brennan is the one that I want to have inform the American people about whether he deliberately lied about this matter. He told your network and others that a search like this was the furthest thing from his mind. We now know that wasn't the case. He ought to explain to the American people whether he deliberately lied or he just didn't know what his agency was doing.
All right, to sum up, you want an independent counsel for sure, or do you think that's just going to be the best route in order to get an honest accountability at the CIA?
The first thing that needs to be done is Director Brennan needs to make a public accounting. He needs to say whether he deliberately lied to the American people. He needs to tell us who ordered and carried out an unconstitutional action, and he needs to do that publicly and quickly.
As for the independent counsel?
I'm certainly interested in that as well. We're going to stay at this until there's a public accounting, we get all the facts, and I do believe it may take an independent counsel, because certainly if a 19-year-old hacker had done this kind of search of Senate files, that hacker would be in jail today. There are criminal penalties.
Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, you've been on the Intelligence Committee on this for now years. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.